Welcome to the Where Do Gays Retire podcast, where we help you in the LGBTQ plus community find a safe and affordable retirement place. Join Mark Goldstein as he interviews others who live in gay-friendly places around the globe. Learn about the climate, cost of living, healthcare, crime and safety, and more. Now, here's your host, Mark Goldstein.
Today, I'm going to throw the dart of the Where Do Gays Retire map, and we're going to land on Cathedral City, California. And today we have our guest, Keith Coleman, and we'll introduce you and tell you a little bit about Keith first. So Keith, in 1989, worked at the College of the Desert in Palm Desert, California. In 1991, he moved to London, UK. And 92, he moved to Fort Lauderdale. So the UK was a little short-lived thing. And then in 92, he also moved to Cathedral City, California, where he is now. He graduated from San Francisco State University with an MA in drama in 2004. And from 2001 to 2013, he produced and directed multiple plays for community theater. In 2011, he also retired from United Airlines, where he worked, I guess since around 1984. That was a long stint. And today, 2023, he's traveling and enjoying life. He was partnered from 1985 through 98. His last husband had passed away. He's now partnered and married from 1999 to present. He has 2 dogs, 1 cat, and 1 tortoise. You have a tortoise?
Absolutely, yeah. Her name is Rocky.
Rocky. Welcome, Keith. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Sure. And Cathedral City. So Cathedral City is right outside of Palm Springs, California. I'll tell the audience a little bit about Cathedral City from what I know. It's a desert resort city in Riverside County, California, within the Colorado Desert's Coachella Valley, situated between Cathedral City and Rancho Mirage, and has a population of over 50,000 people.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
It's actually between Palm Springs and Rancho Mirage. It's right in the middle.
Right. Okay. It's south of Palm Springs, right?
No, it's actually east.
Oh, it's east. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
South there are mountains.
Okay. And the cost of living is relatively high in comparison with the United States. It has a good, welcoming, large LGBTQ community, and the crime is relatively low. So with that, we'll get into our questions and learn about Cathedral City and why people have decided to move to Cathedral City as opposed to the other cities in Coachella Valley. So Keith, tell our audience why you moved to Cathedral City and why you decided to live there and not like the Palm Springs.
Well, I grew up in Northern California, and I last lived in the Bay Area in San Francisco until 1982. And at that time, I took a job transfer to Los Angeles, which turned out to be a mistake. I then met my future partner, now deceased, and he was in the process of moving to Palm Springs. And I decided at that time that I would join him. And that's how I ended up in Palm Springs initially. And then he was renting a house, looking around to buy something, which many people do. And he found a wonderful house in Cathedral City. And of course, my first reaction was, well, it's not Palm Springs. But I ended up falling in love with the house, the neighborhood, the views. And that's how I ended up in Cathedral City.
Wow. So geographically, you said it's east of Palm Springs.
Right.
How many miles would you say?
Well, the cities actually abut each other. So you've got Palm Springs, and then you immediately enter Cathedral City. There's just a sign that distinguishes between the two places. The same with Rancho Mirage as you continue down the main highway, which was Highway 111, also known as Palm Canyon Drive.
Right.
That goes right up. We butt Rancho Mirage, and then Palm Desert, and then La Quinta, and so forth. So it's one city after another. It didn't used to be that way, but that's how it ended up. It's all grown as one big valley community.
Yes, because it's so crowded and most popular in the winter.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the climate. Everybody's talking about the climate in the desert these days because we're in summer. We're going through a heat wave here in Phoenix. I'm sure Palm Springs is not too far off from us as well. Tell us what the summers are like and monsoon season. I'm sure you have a monsoon as well.
Yes, we do. It's a short one though. However, it's not quite as bad as Phoenix. But the summers are, of course, very hot. And this coming week, we're anticipating 120-degree weather, which is not an everyday occurrence. However, it does get to be that hot and sometimes hotter. I think last year we actually reached 125. It was a record. But today it's a little more pleasant. I think we're about 110. And that's pretty average for this time of year for June, July, and August.
That's so funny. That's so funny because coming from the East Coast, that's where I'm originally from. When I lived there and somebody said, "Oh, it's going to be 110 today," and it's kind of cool today. It's 110. And I would be like, 110? Are you crazy? But living out here and living in the desert, it's different. It's so different than living in humidity. So
that's
yes.
The big difference. That's definitely the difference between most places in the country. We have very low humidity, except during the monsoons. And generally in the Coachella Valley, we get those in August, toward the later part of the summer. However, with climate change, who knows?
You never know. Yeah,
you never do know.
Some years it could be a non-soon and not even have a monsoon. And other years you can have it, but as I was saying, it's like 110, 120. Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's hot,
yes.
But it is a dry heat. I kind of laugh, but when the humidity is only 6% or 10%
yes.
or 12%, it's a little bit more bearable than if you were even in 80-degree weather in another state with high humidity.
Yes, so absolutely.
It's all relative.
It is relative. I remember when I first landed in Palm Springs, and they said it was 108, something like that. And I just thought, how do you breathe in that? How can you possibly exist in that? And, I slowly got used to it. I can't say I'm, after almost 40 years, I don't think I'm completely used to it. But I've gotten better, and I gear my activities early in the day and late in the evening, so that during the hottest time of the day, I'm either inside in air conditioning or occasionally in the pool. So
and that's what we do. That's what we do. We have to assimilate to the heat. It's just something that we do in the summer. We take care of our stuff really early in the morning. You want to walk the dogs. Mm-hmm. You walk them really early in the morning, and then just do a quickie during the day, and get your chores done early in the morning. Absolutely. And the rest of the day you're in air conditioning or in the pool. So
and the evenings are beautiful. The evenings are absolutely gorgeous. You have 80-degree weather at night, 80 to 90 degrees sometimes. And you can sit outside and, of course, have dinner and enjoy yourself. It's a good time to go out to the bars.
Yeah.
And, there is entertainment in town quite often.
Yeah. And, the past few nights, walking the dogs close to 9 o'clock at night, the temperature is still hovering a little bit above 100. So it's a little hot.
Yeah.
Here in Phoenix. I don't know about
Well, it depends on where you measure it. I think the air temperature is one thing. The ground temperature, because of the heat during the day,
Oh, yeah.
it's broiling, and
Yes.
the heat comes off the ground, and that makes it warmer. Actually, it makes it feel warmer anyway.
Yeah. But enough of summer. Let's talk about winter. Winter is beautiful.
Yeah, I love the winters, except for, as I mentioned before, it does get a bit crowded, but I see why people want to escape their snowy existence.
Yeah.
We don't get snow here in the valley, although it has happened over the years. It's happened a few times. Nothing stuck to the ground, really, but we're up against a 12,000-foot mountain, and it definitely snows there. But down here in the valley, it can be very sunny. People think it's warm. I don't necessarily. It usually in the 60s, sometimes 50s at the low point, sometimes as much as the 70s. But I guess compared to those snowy places, it's tropical.
Yeah. I mean, 50s for us, it's kind of cold,
Yeah,
you know,
it really
because
is.
I mean, if you're used to 120 and it goes down to 50, I'm like, burr,
Yeah.
give me some blankets.
And of course, everybody wants to go swimming in December. And
Yeah.
it is possible, but not only will you
It's a
spend a
little
fortune
chilly.
for heating your pool, but it's chilly out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
When you
the
get out,
Canadians
you
don't
have
mind.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, forget it.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
You have shrinkage after that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, okay. And there's also, speaking of a mountain, there's a tram, right, in Palm
Oh,
Springs that you could
yeah,
take that goes up the mountain.
absolutely. It's been there since the early 60s, and it's a wonderful, I would absolutely suggest that as one of your first experiences in Palm Springs or Cathedral City area. It's a beautiful climb from the desert floor, which of course is very dry and dusty, up to the top of the mountain, which is forested and snowy often and cold.
It is.
Well, this time of year it's actually just pleasant. It's in 70s and 80s maybe. That's about as hot as it gets.
Yeah.
Um,
So now there's no snow, but
no snow, but it's still much cooler than the
it's
desert
much
floor.
cooler. And I remember, when did I go? I must have went in the winter. But I took the tram up there and I couldn't believe it. It's like within 10, 15 minutes, people were
Yeah.
throwing snowballs up there.
Yeah, it is amazing. It
It's so
really is
funny.
amazing. The first thing I heard about the Coachella Valley was that you can swim around in your swimming pool sometimes of the year and watch it snow at the top of the mountain, and that
Yeah.
makes it so unique.
It's beautiful.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen that though, but people say that.
Okay. Okay. I'll take that word.
Uh,
So there are quick getaways. Is Idlewild the mountain or
yes, it is. It's the top of the mountain. It's a little below the summit where the tram goes. Actually, the tram doesn't go completely to the top, but it's pretty
okay.
far up there. And the city of Idle or town of Idlewild is a very quaint little village, and it's up just below the tram on that same mountain and the mountainside. It's actually on the other side of it, but it's very pleasant there. Temperatures are, like I said, pretty much the same as the tram, and people just love going up there. That's what we do in the summer because it's so close. It's about an hour's drive. Um,
So is Idlewild below the mountain or is it above the mount, on the mount, on top of the mountain?
it's on top of the mountain, but it's below the tram. So it's just
Oh, okay.
when you get to the top of the tram, you kind of look down on it. Uh,
Huh.
just I don't know how many feet, but it's not far below it.
Okay.
And when you're in Idlewild, you can look up at where the tram goes. So it's very close.
Yeah. Oh,
A
it
lot of
sounds
people have second homes up there, summer homes, and they're gone from the desert in June, July, and August. But they love living up there in the summer.
I can't blame them. I
Yeah.
can't
It's not
blame
only
them.
the weather, it's a very small community and people are very friendly and they seem to know each other. So I think that makes a difference.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, Keith, is living in an LGBTQ community important to you? And if so, does Cathedral City have one, or is it just everyone's gay, just like pretty much Palm Springs?
I wouldn't say everyone's gay. And in Palm Springs, that's a bit of an exaggeration too, right? The last statistic I heard is that there were some over half, and I don't want to quote a number, but over half the households are same sex in Palm Springs. In Cathedral City, it's probably about the same. The difference is we have a very large Hispanic community. It's about 60% of the population. And they, live I wouldn't say a different lifestyle. What is a gay lifestyle?
Right.
But there are a lot of straight people in Cathedral City. I will say probably more than Palm Springs.
I'm going to say gay is not a lifestyle. It's just, it's not a lifestyle. It's just, it's an existence. Yeah. It's the way we are.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Well, but we don't have a particular gay area. The gay community is very spread out. And so, there are lots of gay people here. And my neighborhood in the Cove area, I would say on my street alone, it's probably 80 to 85% gay housing.
Wow.
And in Palm Springs, you find that as well. But the other parts of Cathedral City, not quite as much, but that is changing. That's where the newer homes are being built. And a lot of gays are buying out there.
Somebody mentioned that, because I put something up on Facebook, that's probably how we met. Somebody mentioned that Cathedral City was gay before Palm Springs was.
Absolutely. When I would come here in the late 70s, early 80s, the only place you could find a gay establishment was in Cathedral City.
Wow.
And that's because Cathedral City wasn't incorporated until 1981. And before that time, it was a free-for-all pretty much. You could open any business you wanted. There were very few regulations. And Palm Springs wasn't very welcoming to the gay community. I mean, there were obviously a lot of gay people living there, but they didn't want to be known as a gay mecca. And so they kept the businesses away with a lot of regulations and so forth. That started to change, though, in the 80s. And, now it seems to be the focal point of the gay community. That definitely has changed.
I picture Palm Springs in the 60s, 50s. I just picture Ricky and Lucy taking a vacation in Palm Springs.
Absolutely.
That's how I kind of think about it, think of it.
Yeah, well, that's how people are still think of it and are living kind of that fantasy. Because of the many, many celebrities that lived here, or actually, I say lived, but these were mainly second homes from Los Angeles, and they would come out here on weekends and other times when it was, it was an escape. It was quiet here, believe it or not. Not a lot of people knew about it, but the Hollywood stars, they came here in droves. And
why do you think? Just to get away from everything and just sit in that pool, having a cocktail or a glass of wine and staring at the mountains. Right?
Absolutely. I think it was a good place to come and learn your lines and float around the pool. And there were some, believe it or not, in the early days, there were some very popular restaurants here that they flocked to. And there were a few resorts, but, like I said, it wasn't mainstream. It didn't have a lot of tourists. So the people that stayed at these places were well-to-do, mostly celebrities.
Now it's all gay resorts. It's Warm Sands as a whole.
Yeah, they've taken over all of the small boutique hotels, and they're all clothing optional pretty much.
Yeah.
Most of them anyway.
Right.
But Cathedral City was very easy for gays to move to open businesses, and that's why you had all the bars located here. I'm trying to think how many at the time that I moved here. Probably there were 6 or 8.
Are there still any now?
Right now, we're down to about 5.
Okay, it's still good.
They're all different, but we still have quite a few. Arenas Road in Palm Springs, I think, has about, I'm just guessing, 6 or 7 maybe. So it's pretty comparable.
Yeah, it's just they have everything on that one street.
Yeah. And we have one big gay resort here. It's called CCBC, Cathedral City Boys Club.
Okay.
And it's a very large resort, clothing optional, of course. It has kind of a sleazy reputation, which people like. And it's here in Cathedral City. That's probably the only exclusively gay resort there is.
Okay. But you have gay bars. That's That's
Yeah,
pretty good. That's
yeah.
that's important. So, do you have? Are there many people in Cathedral City that you're friends with? Is it easy to make
Oh,
friends?
absolutely. Well, especially neighbors. It depends on the neighborhood you live in, I think. There are the communities like where I live that are individual, single family homes, and people kind of know each other just as neighbors. And then you socialize with them occasionally. That's how I've met most of my friends. And then there's the people in the walled communities, which kind of isolate themselves from everybody else. A lot of people like that lifestyle because it's relatively safe, or at least they think so, because of the walls and the guards at the gate and so forth. But their crime rate is higher than those of us in residential neighborhoods. I have a few friends that live in those communities, and they seem to be very, very happy. They're just extremely happy the fact that they don't have to do a thing. So,
Are those the 55 plus
yeah, yeah,
areas that I've spoken to friends of yours too?
yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's where they
Most of them
live.
are 55 plus. Uh,
Okay.
and there are a lot of
Yeah,
mobile home parks too.
they say they like where they live. They want more neighbors.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the problem is, especially in those gated communities where I live, not so much, but in those gated communities, you have just the majority are part-time residents.
Snowbirds.
Yeah, snowbirds. So, even if you make friends with your neighbors, you don't see them for 6 months of the year.
Right. Yeah.
So I think we have more of a sense of community in my section of Cathedral City. But
And you're in the
there's
Cove, right?
yeah, in the Cove. It's on the hillside above the city, and you actually look over the whole valley with beautiful lights. And
Wow.
it's very peaceful up here. We hear coyotes at night, and we have all kinds of wildlife wandering around. Bighorn sheep are seen on
Wow.
the mountain. But down below, it's a little bit different. It's a little more crowded, and but some people, to each his own. Some people really like that kind of organized living
Yeah.
in a condo
I
or
kind of like that too for
yeah,
myself. I
there's
mean,
no worries.
I'm a city boy coming
Yeah,
from New York City.
right.
So at this point in this stage of life, I really don't want to own a house and do the upkeep. I want somebody else. I'll own a condo and have somebody else do all the work.
Absolutely. Well, you can do that in a house too. You can hire
That's true.
everybody to do everything, but
Right. Right.
there's that extra expense.
Yeah.
Uh, so I suppose you've never mowed a lawn in your life.
I have.
Oh, you have
So
in
yes,
Manhattan.
no, not in Manhattan. So from New York, I moved to Florida, and
Oh,
I lived there in a suburb of Tampa
wow.
for 4 years. So we bought a brand new house. It was, I would say, a third of an acre, a nice big backyard. I mean, green grass growing and weeds, everything all the time. So at that stage, I did in fact mow a lawn, and I did not like mowing lawns. My husband was mowing it first. I said, "Oh, let me do it. I'll do it." And I think I mowed it once or twice, and I said, "I'm not doing this shit anymore."
Yeah,
And we just hired it out
especially in the
after
heat.
that. Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
the worst time to have to do it. I do have a part-time gardener, so he helps me out. But when I was in my 20s, when I moved here, I was out there in the middle of the day in 110 heat, mowing and trimming and
Nope.
you name it. And
Yeah.
now I can't do that anymore. So
Yeah, mowing, pulling weeds, no, in that heat. And also, then because in Florida everything was so green, you had this look. So your grass really had to be as green as your next door neighbor,
yeah,
or your grass wasn't as good. So you would have to hire a separate company that comes out and makes it all green and gets rid of the weeds. So that was their job, fertilizing company.
yeah.
So you had a mower, a fertilizing company, then you had your exterminator come in. Everybody had to come in once a month there because everything grows like
I
crazy.
bet. Well, yeah, I spent a short time in Fort Lauderdale with my job. Is the reason I bounced back and forth for a couple of years to London and then Fort Lauderdale. But when I was in Florida for that less than a year, My God, I couldn't believe how it rained every single afternoon. I thought, no wonder everything is so green and it's so
Yeah.
humid here.
There you go.
Bugs are all over the place. We don't have that. And
No,
in
we don't
fact,
have bugs.
lawns and green landscaping is really becoming very passe here in the
Yeah.
valley.
Yeah.
Desertscape is where we're going, and that's because of the lack of water.
Water. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that brings us also to another question: lack of water and climate change.
Yeah.
So how is that impacted on living life in the desert?
Well, I've seen a lot of ups and downs over the years, but it's been particular, or especially consistent. The weather being warm and pleasant, but the extremes are what has changed.
Right.
We get some really cold nights down to freezing. I know Canadians laugh at that when you tell them, we get as cold as freezing. Well, that's nothing, we're
Right.
100 degrees below. We get that. And then, of course, I said last year we got up to 125 at one point, which is pretty unusual, but it can happen.
Yeah.
And the winters have changed. When I first moved here, I remember it being quite rainy in the winter. And, that was 40 years ago. And I thought, gee, I didn't know it rained in the desert.
Mm.
And I thought this is kind of pleasant because, the hills turn green and
Yeah.
the air smells fresh. And I really enjoyed that. Then it disappeared for about 25, 30 years. It was just warm all winter. And that's when people started flocking here and buying houses.
Yeah. Now
Because
you're in a drought.
yeah, we were in a drought and they thought, oh, it's always hot and sunny in Palm Springs. So a lot of people were under that impression. And this winter, it was the big change, was a wake-up call to everybody. It was a lot rainier than usual. However, it wasn't that unusually rainy, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
We
California got a lot of rain this
got
winter.
definitely a lot of rain, but having rainy days in December, January into February is not
That's good.
unusual.
Yeah,
We do
it's
have
good.
them, and I love them. Tourists hate them, but
Yeah.
it's
Locals love them because
yeah,
whatever rain we get, it's a
yeah,
blessing.
yeah, absolutely. And our water supply is actually underneath the desert. We have an aquifer,
Aquifer.
yeah, that where everything drains down from the mountains, and that is where the majority of our water comes from. However, we also steal from the Colorado River, which is horrible.
Yeah, we
Uh,
do too.
but that's been going on for 100 years or more.
Yeah.
So, we need to conserve, definitely,
But yet
even though,
there's so many golf courses watering the lawns. It's unbelievable. And Palm Springs itself has so many. I'm
absolutely.
sure Cathedral City has them too.
Yes, absolutely. We have Cathedral Canyon Country Clubs, one of the major ones, or the Desert Princess. Palm Springs has, I'm trying to think how many they have. They don't really have that many. But if you go further east, Rancho Mirage, Palm Desert, it's like a golf course on every corner.
Yeah.
And we have over 120 golf courses in this valley now. And I think it's time for a moratorium.
I think I do too. I mean, come on. There are people, there's a water shortage,
Yeah. Oh, and they were exempt from all the water restrictions over the last years. Because they bring in the tourists,
Right. And they bring
they
in the
were
money.
yeah. And there are a few that do recycle their water, but very few. Most of them, the majority of the water goes up into space. It's just a waste.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
should hope they use reclaimed water or,
They're starting to, but I think out of 120, what did I read? Maybe 6 use
that's
reclaimed water. Yeah,
kind
exactly.
of disturbing.
It is. It is disturbing. But if you're
Okay.
a golfer, you're going to be in paradise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you love golf, you're going to love it.
Oh yeah. You're in second heaven.
Yeah.
So, okay, tell us a little bit about what the local economy is like in Cathedral City. Can you provide examples of what housing costs, either renting or buying, your electric bills, water bills, gas bills, taxes? Is it cheaper than Palm Springs as far as, I guess, real estate is concerned?
As far as real estate costs to purchase a house, I would say, and even for renting, Palm Springs definitely wins the prize because it's the name alone garners a lot more. Here in Cathedral City, we don't have that glamorous image, so you find houses that are much more affordable in the $400,000-$500,000 range, which for California is considered very cheap.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, Palm Springs, you're looking closer to 7 to $1 million plus. That's for owning a home. If
Right. Single
renting,
family.
I'm not familiar with because it's been so long since I rented. But I've seen the ads for studio apartments going for $2,000 a month. So I don't know if that's the average or and it depends on when you rent.
I
If you
think
rent,
it's kind of expensive
yeah, for a one bedroom or
for
a
a
studio.
studio.
Yeah. You might find something cheaper. I don't know, how far out you have to go, but or what it looks like. But people do pay those kind of prices to live here, and the homes are often, or the apartments are often condos. They're empty, sit there empty. Some people rent them out when they're not here, but they really only make their money in the winter.
Right.
So, you know,
So
it the costs.
yeah,
um,
tell us a
talking
little bit about your electric bills in the summer versus the winter.
Well, it depends on whether you have solar or not.
Oh,
And
do
this is,
you?
oh yeah, most I would say most. There may be one or two houses in my neighborhood that don't. Most of the people in my area have solar. You look down in the valley and you see the solar panels everywhere. So it seems to be the way to go, especially in a climate like this. And so I put my solar panels in about 10 years ago. And prior to that, my average bill in the winter would be about $150 a month. In the summer, my average electric bill would be about $450 a month. So after solar, I pay, you've got an option to lease or rent your panels, or lease or buy your panels. That's what I meant.
Right.
And I chose to lease them because I didn't want to plunk out $30,000 and then they become obsolete in 30 years. So I decided to rent the panels. I pay $200 a month year round for electricity, which I think is a bargain when other people are paying several $100s more
Oh,
than that.
wow. So your
Yeah,
lease is definitely lower than your electric bill.
yeah.
Now, does that average out during the year, or is it still you're still getting a bargain? Because
Yeah,
in the summer you're paying 400 and something, in the
yeah,
winter you're down to maybe 200 or 100.
right, right. It does even out. It works out still to be much cheaper. I paid nothing to have these panels installed. That was one good thing. But I
Hmm.
did it 10 years ago, so I'm not sure if they're doing that anymore. You might have to plunk something down in order to get them put in, but that is the way to go. I mean, $200 a month is considered nothing.
Yeah, I give
So,
California credit because they do a little bit more than the other states do as far as, I don't know
we've
if
got
you
a
guys
great,
have rebates or anything like that.
absolutely. Absolutely, they definitely do. And Governor Newsom is at the forefront of it all. He's a very major environmentalist, and he's done so many great things for the state. He's
Yeah,
not well liked by the right wing for many, many reasons. He's very opening to immigrants, and
right.
and very, very pro-gay, and
Yep,
he's as handsome as hell.
he is. He should be running for president.
Well, everybody here says that, that we want him as following our current president.
Yeah,
We want him in. Other than Pete Buttigieg, he gets the
right.
top
He's
prize.
another.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah.
another. We're on the
He's not
same.
bad to look at either.
Not at all. Not at all. Okay, so that's great. Your panels take care of your electric bill pretty much.
Yeah. And
That's
I forgot to mention that the Edison, Southern California Edison Electric
mhm.
Company, sends me a check at the end of the year. It's usually in the middle of the summer, actually, but at one time a year, I get a check for the amount of electricity that my panels generate over what I use. So if I'm overproducing electricity that I'm not using, it goes back to the electric company, and they pay me for that.
Wow.
The deal I got was better 10 years ago because I was getting, it's not a lot of money, usually a couple $100 But, they're
Still,
paying me. Yeah, so
right.
1 month is free for my rental. But now I heard they changed the law, and the electric company doesn't have to pay you as much. They pay you just a fraction of what I'm getting. So people are basically just breaking even.
Right. Right.
So
Well,
it's not bad.
you did a good thing.
Yeah,
You were grandfathered in.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
how about your water bills? Are
And that
they
varies too, depending on the amount of water you use, of course. Wintertime, the water bill can be as low as $50. And in the summer, with all the heat, if you want anything green, you have to water constantly. And I pay 100 to 150 a month, which is still not bad. And that includes sewer too. Um, so
so
uh,
you have grass on your lawn?
I do. I'm probably the last
Ah,
one on my
shame, shame,
street.
shame, shame.
I know. My friends tell me that. Why are you, soaking your front yard? It doesn't make any sense, because I want to make it look nice.
Right.
A
I
little bit of
understand.
greenery in a desert is a really nice thing.
I
So I've
understand.
been reluctant. I took out actually half of my grass a few years ago and got paid by the city of Cathedral City to do it. So to save water. And so I bet 50% is gone now. It's desertscape, but the
Right.
other 50% is still grass. And I'm not giving that anytime soon.
Okay, so we have to give you credit. At least you did make an effort, and
I
you
made an
did
effort.
half. That's
I,
great.
I may completely do it in a couple of more
Yeah.
years. We'll see.
Yeah. But at least you are conserving, so that's really
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
How about gas bills?
I'm assuming you're talking natural gas.
Natural. Yeah. Yeah.
We don't want to talk about the other gas.
No, no.
It's everywhere in California. It's outrageous. But we go to Arizona to buy ours.
Oh, really?
Well, the people that live close to the border do. Yeah, it's much cheaper over there where you are.
You mean petrol gas?
Petrol, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But natural gas is normally very cheap, except this year there was a shortage.
Oh, really?
And I normally pay about $15 to $20 a month. And that's pretty much all year round. Maybe a little more in the winter, 30, 40. This year, and starting in January, I think it lasted till March, they raised the rates by several 100%. And they said it's because of this shortage in the Ukraine war and so forth. And people were paying, and I was paying over $200 a month. It went from $15 to $200 a month for gas. And
Wow.
everybody went berserk, especially the snowbirds, because they're not used to paying,
Oh,
anything.
yeah.
And they just went crazy because, it really, I don't know, when it quadrupled, tripled, more than that. It was ridiculously high. And they told us it was a temporary thing, and they've gone back down again. So I would say average, if you have a 3-bedroom house like I do, you're probably going to pay less than $50 a month for gas.
Okay.
Oh, there is a big caveat, though. If you have a swimming pool and you choose to heat it, which is, I think, is the stupidest thing in the world, but the people that are only here in the winter like to heat their pools, you're looking at a gas bill $300 to $500 a month, because the pool takes up a lot of energy and it
Oh, yeah.
dissipates very quickly.
Yeah.
So you got to
Wow.
keep it warm. You got to keep the gas going all the time.
This is why I want a condo with a community pool.
Right. Except, well, if they're good-looking people, but often you
Right. That's true. That's true. Well, you got your good and your bad. So,
yeah. I don't want to just be in a swim with anybody.
Right. So, cost of living is, I think it's considerably higher than like Phoenix, for example.
That's what they say.
Yeah, even grocery bills are high as
Yes.
well.
Oh, absolutely. The grocery bills are very high here. I'm not sure why, but the grocery stores are pretty much the same, and they're hiking their prices up, after COVID.
Yeah.
It just went crazy, and they're starting to come back down very slowly, but it's still, I'm paying every time I go to the grocery store $400 or $500. And I used to
Yeah,
pay $200 for a week of groceries.
Yeah,
So
we
it's
we
more
pay
than,
close to 200 just at the grocery store. Then we go to Costco.
yeah,
We've cut it back from every week, I think, to every other week.
yeah,
And Costco, you can't
yeah.
walk out of Costco without spending $200-$300.
Oh, absolutely.
And then we go to also a place called Sprouts, which is kind of
Yeah,
like a smaller version of Whole Foods,
yeah, I've heard of it.
get our
I think
vegetables
there
and
is one
stuff.
here. We have in the East Valley. They have one Sprouts. I'd
Yeah,
like to go try it out.
they're kind of popular
Yeah,
here. So
we have Whole Foods in the East Valley, and what else? Jensen's is a local market that has a lot of high quality foods. It's a bit more expensive, but we go to Vaughn's, which is part of Safeway,
I've heard of
and
that.
yeah, it's a very old Southern California supermarket, and their prices are consistently high.
Yeah,
They have a lot of variety, and that's why we like it. But it's ridiculous what we're paying,
yeah,
and getting fewer and fewer items every
right.
single time. Yeah, so it's comparable to the rest of California. I wouldn't say it's any
Yeah,
cheaper here. It's about the
it's
same.
right. The cost of living is probably the same, but actually, I think housing prices might be a little
Yeah.
cheaper
Oh yeah.
in the Valley area by you
Yes.
than anywhere else in
Oh,
California. I mean,
yeah.
especially
Absolutely.
Northern California. And
The Bay Area is
yeah, it's
ridiculous.
crazy.
You can't find anything under $1 million,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's
and
for
and
something
that's
that.
a fixer upper.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Well, not even in San Francisco. You're looking more like 2 million,
Yeah.
for
Oh
something
yeah.
decent.
Yeah.
And the rents are really
That's
high there, and it's not as bad here. We're definitely lucky in this part of California.
This is why I do Where Do Gays Retire, because where do
Yeah,
gays retire? Not
yeah,
only do we have to think about cost of living, we have to think about where it's safe for us to
yeah,
go. And
right.
so we try to find those places, and Cathedral City definitely sounds like a very safe place to live and a very gay friendly place to live. So, and
Absolutely.
California itself is also.
No, yeah,
So
very progressive.
yes, very progressive. I love it.
Hmm.
It's my kind of state, Keith.
Very deep blue.
Yes, yes, my kind of state.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm going to pause for a little break. I'm going to do my own little advertising. I just want to let the whole community out there know that we do have a Facebook group. It's called Where Do Gays Retire? And it's been in existence for a few years, where we just passed the 13,000 member number. So I'm really happy and grateful about that. I'm really grateful that I've brought people together from all over the world. I never imagined in a million years that I'd bring people from the US to Europe, and now they're living in, Europe, and there's a community there that I've kind of introduced these people throughout my Facebook group and my podcasts. People in Mexico, people in Latin America, and everywhere. And I'm really proud about that. And if you're out there and you haven't joined the group, the Facebook group, it's Where Do Gays Retire, and just do a search on that and join up. And also want to let you also know that we do have a podcast. Like, of course, this is the podcast, and you can get it on my website, all of the episodes, the past episodes, on www.wheredogaysretire.com. And if you think I provide a good service to the LGBTQ community, and if you think that, I've done a good job, there's a coffee cup on the bottom of every screen on my website. It's called Buy Me a Coffee, and each coffee costs $5. And if, caffeinate me as much as you want, because each $5 that you donate to me goes towards providing you this content with the podcast, through the websites. And I'm not going to say the Facebook group because I don't pay anything for that, but the podcasts I do and the websites I do. So anything is greatly appreciated. So back to our little talk with Keith. So
Great groups, by the way. Your group, Where Do Gays Retire, is an excellent source of information.
thank you. Thank you. I
It
really
really is.
appreciate it. Yeah, I work pretty hard in bringing that to everyone, and everyone from my moderators, all of my moderators that do a fantastic job, and they don't get paid to do it, and they just do a wonderful job weeding out the bad stuff. And
Appreciate it very
yeah,
much.
yeah, we love them. So back to our talk. Does Cathedral City have their own arts and culture scene, or do you have to go into Palm Springs?
Cathedral City definitely has its own arts and culture scene. Palm Springs, of course, Cathedral City is actually larger than Palm Springs, by the way. It has a
Really?
larger population, not a huge difference, but yeah, it is larger. But we have a smaller arts community than does Palm Springs. That's where a lot of the money goes with the rich benefactors. They tend to put their money into Palm Springs Museum, Art Museum, and so forth. And here in Cathedral City, it's more grassroots. And you have a lot of artists, there some of them famous, some not, that live in the Cove area where I am, but in the lower area of the Cove. That's the historic district of Cathedral City. The homes are, over 100 years old, some of them. And that started out to be a very large community of artists at one time. In fact, Agnes Pelton, I don't know if you're familiar with her, her house was in the Lower Cove, and that's been there since at least the 30s. That's what the makeup of the community is. And then there was, other people that live in other parts of the city too that do sculpting and painting and so forth. And then we have a lot of people that are into the performing arts too. Yeah, that's what I was going to tell you about. Our theater, I'm so excited about. We had an IMAX theater built here in the downtown area, which it's all brand new. And during redevelopment, they built an IMAX. You know what that is. It's a big screen and so forth. Well, that was never successful here. Maybe a few months in the winter, but this time of year, they didn't get anybody. So the city actually, the IMAX, whoever owned it, was going to go out of business if the city didn't put money into it. So they did, and they financed it for several years. Still didn't make any money. So the IMAX just pulled out and left the city with the theater. They, reneged on it. And it has been remodeled into a live theater now. They've taken out the big screen, beautiful stage, beautiful theater. It's small. It probably has 150, I guess. I'm just guessing. But it's top-notch entertainment. The director is from New York, and he's directed many plays there and other places. And he brings in a lot of entertainment from the East Coast and Los Angeles, too. We have a lot of LA actors that come here and do the shows it's called CV Rep, which is for Coachella Valley Repertory. And it's grown immensely, and I'm just so proud of it. It's so close to where I live, and the shows they do are just top notch.
That's great.
It's like going to Broadway. Seriously, I'm not kidding. And that
That's
is the
great.
best theater in the valley, in my opinion. Other people will say, "Oh, yeah, but we have the little cultural center in Palm Springs." That's an old movie theater too that they turned into live theater, but it's more local actors and
Right.
community theater. This is really
That's
it's
great.
not, they're not touring companies though. That's what I like is they do original productions and a lot of famous ones too.
That's wonderful. That's like what I have here at the Phoenix Theater, that I could actually walk down the block and
Uh-huh.
go to our local theater.
What's it called?
It's called the Phoenix Theater
Oh,
here.
how original.
Yeah, yeah, but they have really, really good shows there too.
Well, of course, I'm enthused about it because I have a theater background. But
Yeah,
the big theater here is the McCallum Theater, which is in Palm
I've heard of
Desert.
that.
Yeah, and that gets all the big Broadway touring companies, which I tend to avoid because it's the same cycle of plays over. They're doing Les Mis, Robble, and Sound of Music, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just not.
Is that a huge place?
It's
It sounds famous. It sounds like something's been filmed there, like awards or something.
They
No?
get a lot of celebrities that perform there. They don't just do plays and musicals. They also do lectures, and you get a lot of one man, one woman shows, and they're all professionals. But the theater itself is only about 1,200 seats.
Okay. It's
Wish you
still,
wouldn't ask me numbers because I'm just throwing them out.
that's okay.
Yeah,
I mean, it's still a large,
yeah,
1,200 is large.
yeah.
So,
It's like a large high school.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I could have seen that somewhere on an award show or something. They could add something there.
Yeah,
But
possibly.
what else, as far as culture and arts and culture, is
Oh well,
available?
there's also a street I failed to mention. It's called Perez Road, Perez or Perez, however you want to say it, and it's an arts district. And there are several shops there. There used to be more, but now I would guess there are probably half a dozen at least that sell art, and I think they do some sculpture too. I haven't been down there in years, so it's all changed. But that's considered our arts district, and Palm Springs has one too, but I don't think theirs is as nice.
Good. Well, I'm happy that you do have your own, which is,
Yeah,
and probably bigger than Palm Springs, which is great.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm very proud of it.
so tell us about the restaurant scene. Are you into food?
Oh God, look at me.
No, you're not.
I'm a foodie to the max. I love to eat, and we've got some great restaurants. Palm Springs is being so close, also, that's an alternative because I get tired of going to the same Cathedral City restaurants. But lots and lots of Mexican food, if you like that, and I do like Mexican food a lot.
Mhm.
So I'm pleased with it. Other people say, "Oh, we need some more variety." So that might be one thing that's lacking. But there are some very fine restaurants. We have Ocean's Restaurant, which is seafood. A new one that just opened is called Sol y Sombra. It's a Spanish tapas restaurant.
Mm,
And it's in a small resort, beautiful setting, tables outside and so forth. And that's probably 5 star. And then Trilusa is the Italian restaurant that everybody raves about. I like it quite a bit, and it's hard to get a reservation in there. Those are probably the three top-notch restaurants here. Then you've
well,
got, like I said, lots of Mexican or a few Chinese. Thai is getting very popular here. Um,
that
but
sounds
people that move
good.
from New York, like yourself, will say the first thing, why don't they have more types of restaurants? Back in New York, I can get, Lebanese food, but we
Right.
don't have a
You're
Lebanese
not in New York.
restaurant.
You're
Well, that's
smaller
what we're
than
going
New
to tell them.
York.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
New York is a huge city. This
It's
is a small
huge.
city.
Yeah. And that's
So,
why
yeah,
Cathedral City or Palm Springs, to me,
yeah,
it's a more like a big town. That's the way I mean, coming from New York is just out of control. It's huge.
yeah.
So,
Well, yeah,
but I do enjoy coming down and going to Sherman's for
oh, Sherman Deli is great.
for my little Jewish deli fix.
Yeah, we don't have a Jewish deli in Cathedral City, unfortunately. I wish we did. I think we have a Mexican deli, though.
I believe that.
Yeah, but Palm Springs has a lot of upscale restaurants because of the tourist
Right.
draw. So on Palm Canyon Drive in downtown, within a few blocks, you've got
Oh yeah, you can walk.
30 restaurants. Yeah, you can walk there. You can walk from one to the next. A lot of very good ones, very popular. It's just if you want to go down there and hassle with the crowds during the season, and that's the only drawback.
So is Cathedral City? Can you walk anywhere? Is it anywhere? Is it walkable or no?
In
You
my
need a car.
neighborhood, absolutely, because we have dog walking hours here, like 5 in the morning till 7, and then about 7 at night to 9. I I don't know. Dozens of people walk by my house with with dogs, so it's
Can you
very
walk to restaurants and stuff?
not where I am because I'm at the top of a hill, and you can't. I mean, if you want to, it's just getting back that's the
Yeah,
problem.
and getting back up, I was like,
Yeah,
nope,
yeah.
Uber.
Yeah, you can walk to downtown from here. It's probably 2 miles. It's not that bad.
Not in the heat.
It's just the hill. That's the
Not in
problem.
the heat.
Oh, not in the heat. No, no, no,
No,
definitely
no.
not.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, but it is walkable. The rest of the city, especially in those gated communities, that's one good thing about them. Apartment condo complexes too. They're all made for walking, and
Walking around.
yeah, and then
But
they have
are
common
they
areas.
accessible to anything outside, like restaurants and stuff, or no? You have to
Oh,
take
yeah.
your car.
Well, I'm trying to think. You could probably, I think you need a car.
Yeah, me too.
That's just me. I'm 65, so, maybe 20
We're the
years.
same age.
Yeah, that's
We're the
amazing.
same. Yeah. When were you born? What month were you born?
November,
Oh, I'm
Sagittarius.
October.
Oh,
I'm October 9th, so I'm a Libra. So I'm right.
that's good.
Respect your elders. I'm like 3 weeks. I'm like 3 weeks older than you.
Yeah, no, more like a month.
A month.
I'm late November. I'm a
Oh,
Sag.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Gotcha.
a little over a month.
All
But yeah,
right.
I would say for the most part, it's it's walkable in the neighborhoods. I wouldn't suggest walking on the main
Walking
highway.
outside. Yeah.
Yeah, and the downtown area, which is still being built after 25 years of redevelopment, is very walkable. You can walk from the B-Rep Theater to dinner at Trilusa. You can go see a movie at the Mary Pickford Theater, which is a wonderful movie theater. I think they've got, I don't know, 12, 13 screens or something. And it's all luxury chairs, recliners,
Yeah.
and it's really a
Comfy.
nice theater. It's probably the most popular theater here in the Valley. And that's right downtown. And then there are a few other restaurants and shops around, but that's walkable.
Okay. Because
The rest of it, I think,
it's pretty much the same. Palm Springs too.
yeah,
Like the only walkable place that I know of is maybe around the downtown area.
yes,
That's,
that's very
anything else like Warm Sands, you can't really walk anywhere. You have to take a car.
yeah. Some people walk to Arenas Road, but I think it's too far. You
Yeah, I
really
think
need to be
I
right
might have
down.
done it once or twice,
Yeah,
but
not in the summer.
yeah, not in the summer. No,
Yeah.
no. I don't think I've been there in the summer.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well,
I
you've
don't
been
think
in
so.
Phoenix in the summer, so you kind of know what it's like.
Oh, yeah, I definitely do. But, some of us still working full time, so
Yeah.
it's hard to
You're
get
inside
away.
a lot.
I am. I am. But, retirement, it's reachable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Hopefully, you're 65. How long are you going to wait?
maybe not too much longer.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. All right. So, good restaurants, good. You have arts and culture restaurants. So, what's the traffic situation like?
Oh, well,
Oh, I heard a oh.
I'm a big complainer about traffic because I love public transit. I'm probably the only person on the earth, I
I
should
do too.
I should be on the East Coast, really, where the public transit is fantastic,
Or in
or
Europe.
Europe, which is incredible. With how you can get anywhere in Europe on a bus, a train, or
Yep.
anything. But here, pretty much like the rest of the country, you need a car.
Car centric.
It's very car centric, and so yeah, I wouldn't walk, to downtown Palm Springs. That's a bit far. There is a bus system though, and it does go along the main highway, which is Highway 111, Palm Canyon Drive.
How about traffic in the
The
winter?
traffic though, it's really night and day. Right now, yesterday I went to the supermarket. Nobody was out. I mean, it was hot. I did go a little too early in the day, and it was very hot out. And there were probably 3 people in this huge supermarket. Traffic. I could look way down at the other end of the street and not see another car. However, starting around, I would say it's getting earlier and earlier every year, but starting around October, late October, definitely after Canadian Thanksgiving, whenever the hell that is. That's when they close up shop up north and move south,
Hmm.
and that's when it starts getting a little very slowly. Traffic starts picking up. By January, this year was horrible because of the rain, so a lot of the streets were closed due to flooding.
Oh,
Everybody was forced onto the same highway,
right.
and it was bumper to bumper, inching along. I felt like I was in Los Angeles again.
Uh,
And this year was exceptionally bad, but in a normal season, it does flow. But the only freeway we have is I-10, which goes to Phoenix,
yep.
to Los Angeles, the other direction. And that's quite far out in the desert, far away from everybody. So it's not accessible to the city.
Right. Right.
But There are other projects that are going on trying to improve the traffic here finally because of the influx of people, especially after COVID.
Right.
We got a
Everybody
huge,
wants to come and
everybody wanted to
visit.
retire, I guess. They thought their
Yeah.
days were numbered, or I don't know.
Right. Get me
Yeah,
out of here.
yeah, yeah,
Let me go west, young man.
yeah.
Okay. So what's the closest airport? Oh, you do have a Palm Springs airport, right?
Absolutely. It's becoming very big. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned.
When I moved here, I was a flight attendant for almost 30 years, and I would commute to San Francisco or Los Angeles, Chicago at one time, and I was based in London and Miami at one time. But when I first moved here and I started flying, I would take a commuter flight down, mostly San Francisco is where I was based. And that would be maybe twice a day at the most, and that would be in the season. You'd get a flight, and those were the little puddle jumpers
Mm-hmm.
with
Yep.
like 50 seats. So, I would go standby and never get on. I'd sit, all day. And a lot of times I went to Los Angeles and drove. But it's changed. It's really changed overnight. We've got Southwest has come in here now, and that does change everything. Prices have dropped dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
You can fly to just about anywhere from here now, especially Canada. There's all kinds of flights to Canada.
I'm sure there's a big market for that.
Absolutely. But they don't fly in the summer. That's one drawback. But, who cares?
Right. Right.
We don't have many people coming here, but we have nonstops to JFK, New York now, which is a big thing for us.
That is big because when I lived in New York, I had to fly into, what's that airport?
Dallas, Atlanta.
No, right by you.
Oh, Ontario.
Ontario, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I used to have to fly into there and then drive from Ontario to Palm Springs. Wasn't fun.
Well, that's my experience most of the time I've lived here. But I wish I was still working because I needed to get on an airplane because now I've got a lot of choices. I can fly just about anywhere in the country. They're also trying to get international flights in here other than Canada. Talking about a flight to London. We get a lot of Brits that come here in the winter, especially.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, now if they go to New York, you can fly anywhere. If you could fly nonstop to New York and then connect to, someplace in Europe.
Except on United.
United.
That's who I worked for. And they stopped flying to Kennedy, if you can believe it. They moved everything to Newark.
Really?
Yeah. But you can fly anywhere from Newark now.
They go into,
tiny
Newark.
little islands in the Atlantic.
Newark is huge.
Oh, it's too huge. And you can see what's happened in the last few weeks with the air traffic problem.
It's horrible.
They have too many flights. That's the bottom line. There's just too many people. And the economy is supposed to be so bad right now.
Oh,
Where are these people getting all this money to travel?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're in not a recession, but there's a lot of inflation and prices have gone up, but yet people are taking their vacations.
Yeah. And airline prices are not that much more than they were 30 years ago. I mean, you could do 400 round trip, that's what I was paying back in the 80s before I was a flight attendant. Except for maybe People's Express, which was always
I remember
$99, whatever they charged.
Oh my God.
That's how I used to get to Europe a lot, is on those cheap charters.
Oh no, I won't take a charter.
You know about cheap charters, yeah.
Yes, I know about that. I told you about that.
Yeah.
Well, we won't go into that right now.
Okay.
But, okay. So do you have any concerns of earthquakes, mudslides, fires, all that, I should say locusts? And, earthquakes I'll tell you, I looked up earthquakes and I Googled, I don't want to depress anybody or tell anybody not to move there, but I Googled what's it called? Now I can't think of it. It's the fault, the San Andreas Fault.
Oh, San Andreas Fault, yeah.
San Andreas Fault to, California and where it runs from. And it does run into the valley.
runs right through the valley. We're living on an earthquake fault.
Are you nervous about that?
Well, I'm a native Californian, so I've felt them my entire life. There've only been two or three that really concerned me. And we had a really big one. I think it was about 1990, somewhere around there, or maybe a little earlier than that. And it shook my house. I felt like it was going off the foundation and scared the hell out of us. You could see the water splashing in the swimming pool. I went out into the street, and this was in the summer, so there were not that many neighbors, but the few that were here all ran out into the street. Everybody was panicked.
Oh, yeah, I would too.
That was probably the worst, but there was no damage. No windows were broken and nothing fell off or anything, but it really shook us. Since then, we've had just minor. I mean, you might look over at your partner and say, did you feel that? No, I didn't feel anything. That's the kind of earthquakes we have now. But that doesn't mean we're not due for a big one. And
right. They say the big one is overdue 100 years.
Yes. And it runs right through this valley, and the fault runs right through California up through the city of San Francisco.
Right.
All those high rises.
There was a major earthquake in San Francisco in I think it was 1906.
Oh, you're talking about the first
one. Big one.
I mean, the original one, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the whole city was destroyed. And mostly from the fires that erupted.
Do you have earthquake insurance?
I should. To be honest.
Come on.
No, really. I mean, everybody says you really need it because it's going to happen. I canceled mine because it was so expensive. It is outrageously expensive.
Somebody just told me that it was like they were paying $78 a month for a condo. I don't know about a house.
Oh, you pay more for a house, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it depends on even your area and what type of soil your house is built on. Mine is pretty much on rock on the hillside, and down below those homes, a lot of them are built on sand. So they do tend to shift a little more.
I hope you're not on the edge of a cliff.
No, that's the thing, is there no such thing as mudslides, because where I live, it is on the side of a mountain, but it's in an alluvial fan. So there are hills all around the development, and we don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
What can I say?
Okay, we'll cross our fingers.
Fires, I would be worried about, because we're surrounded by wilderness, and fire danger is exceptionally high, especially in the summer.
How close has your area in Cathedral City been to fires? Summer fires?
I have not experienced it, knock on wood. We're highly susceptible, according to the map.
Yeah, so are we here in Phoenix too. But
yeah, you had a really big one last year.
Yeah. So yeah, those are concerns. So I'm always, before I move to a place, I Google where are the natural disasters, or what place is natural disaster free. No place is perfect. There's not going to be any place that there's something. So you go to Florida, you have hurricanes. You go here, you have fires or earthquakes.
Hurricanes and bigots.
Yeah. We won't go
Not
there.
Everybody, I know.
We won't go there. Okay. So you do have your natural disasters, but knock wood, you've been good. No natural disasters.
So far, so good. And the houses are better constructed than they used to be. So, some of the real old ones are very well. Mine's holding up. It's 1958 when it was built.
So it's a year after you were born.
Yeah. Can you believe? I always tell people I'm the same age as my house.
As the house. But who creaks more?
Me.
Do your bones creak more than the house?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So tell us, does Coachella Valley have a water shortage?
Yes, it still does. Even though the record rains this season alleviated a lot of that, we are still under technically a drought.
Okay.
Believe it or not. The Central Valley, where all the agriculture is under severe drought. I think we're under a mild or moderate drought. which means they've taken off the restrictions. At one time when we were high, the top of water shortages, I guess, they put a lot of restrictions on us. You couldn't water during the day, you couldn't wash your car, and so forth. It's a minor inconvenience, but I think we're going back to those days. They've rescinded all of those rules for the time being because we do have a lot of water from this year, and the snow is melting down the mountain.
Right.
So we were fine for a short time, but with the number of people moving here, it's
not going to be too long.
It's not going to last that long, and the Colorado River is going to get cut off eventually.
Yeah.
They need the water too.
Right.
So we're going to be dependent on, and they're going to have to do something about those damn golf courses.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, we don't play golf. That's why.
Okay. That's a good thing. Boycott. So tell us about crime in Cathedral City. Is it any different than Palm Springs?
It's actually safer, believe it or not.
Really?
We have a lower crime rate. Don't ask me numbers, but yeah, I just read that they came out with a study about a month ago and said Cathedral City was considered the safest city in the Coachella Valley.
Nice.
Yeah, so if you're going to live locally, this would be the city. We do have a small area that's kind of questionable. They have some gang activity, tagging and so forth. I think you see that everywhere nowadays. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of a nothing crime compared to what you get in other places. Not too many murders.
Well, I hope not.
Yeah, and you can walk down the street and be safe
and feel safe.
Yeah, for the most part. We had a homeless population that has since moved on, that were here for many years. There were a lot of those people were living in the washes, under bridges and so forth, and with tents. And
did Newsom ship them to Florida?
We should have done. Good point. Yeah, that would be good. We should. These poor people, though, you'd see the same ones year after year, and some of them are seasonal. Believe it or not, they go north for the winter. I mean,
where do they go? Well, where do they get the money?
Where they came from, I guess.
Travel. Yeah. Let me take a plane to Seattle, cool off.
Yeah, no, they're usually on a freight train or something.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'm just guessing. I shouldn't make fun because these people are for the most part at least our Cathedral City homeless seem to be good people. They're not causing a lot of trouble.
Does the government do anything to help them?
This year we've got a wonderful mayor, Rita Lamb, and she has a homeless task force liaison for the community, and it's through the police department, and they have gone out individually and talked to each one of these individuals and said, you can't be here, first of all, and we're going to get you some help. And
that's good, because it's such a big problem. It really is. I mean, most of these people need mental help.
Right. And physical health care.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so hot. I don't know how they survive the heat.
I've seen the same woman at Ralph's supermarket living, I don't know where she lives, probably somewhere behind the market, but she pushes a shopping cart. Her skin is leather and she's totally dark. She almost looks black, and she's a white woman, and she's been living as long as I've lived here, almost 40 years. She's been living in her shopping cart at the Ralph's supermarket.
Oh my God.
And I don't know how she does it either. On these 120-degree days I've driven by, and she's there at the bus stop, with her cart. So there are some that are, that's their lifestyle, and I guess that's what freedom is about.
Yep, I guess so.
But they do need help, and I think that's changing. And we don't really have many homeless anymore in Cathedral City because of
that's good.
The efforts. Yeah,
that's good. How about healthcare? Are there any hospitals in Cathedral City, and are there enough doctors to support the population?
Well, we've got a couple of really good hospitals. There are actually 3 in the valley here, and then there's one in the high desert, which is about an hour's drive away, a small hospital. But the 2 main hospitals, Cathedral City is actually in the middle of the 2 hospitals, so there's none in the city. But Palm Springs has the Desert Regional Medical Center, which is very highly rated. And then Rancho Mirage has the Eisenhower
Eisenhower. Yeah.
Medical Center, which is it's also Betty Ford Center is located there. It's a little more upscale because
Rancho Mirage
yeah,
is a little upscale.
and you actually, if you pay them a premium, you get to stay in the. If you have to go to the hospital, you get to stay in a nicer wing with a private nurse and so forth. So it's really what you get, what you pay for. Palm Springs Desert Hospital is a wonderful hospital, but they get a lot of the homeless and people without insurance, and so that you can wait 8 hours sometimes. Even Eisenhower
For an
has
emergency.
Yeah, for emergency.
And how about to see a specialist?
Well, I'm with Kaiser, and they're not very big in the Coachella Valley, but they don't have their own facilities here. They contract everything. So I'm pretty lucky because they streamline it, and they pay for a private doctor here. I wait usually on average 2 to 3 months. Someone that's coming in new was probably looking at 4 to 6 months.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Hey, I wouldn't want to wait 4 to 6 months if I was a new patient.
Well, and depending on the time of the year, once again, this time of the year, you can probably get in
Right.
a lot sooner.
Yeah.
But in the winter, when you've got, people who have national health care coming down, they're cash people, they're going to get seen first. So Palm Springs and Cathedral City are very fortunate, though, to have these two hospitals because they are top rated.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very pleased with that. Seeing a doctor, if you want a gay doctor, that's going to be a long wait. You
Really?
can probably see a doctor in a short amount of time, but most of us want to see somebody that's,
Okay.
like us. Yeah, I prefer a gay man. Well, I have a gay woman, but that's close enough.
Mine's gay friendly. That's
close
for
enough.
me. It's fine. And
Yeah.
I talk about anything. I talk about my husband's a patient too, so
Right.
he knows both of us, and it's fine.
Yeah, and I've had a wonderful straight doctors, so I'm not prejudiced or anything.
Right.
A lot of people move here and say, what's a good gay doctor, specializing in HIV and so forth. And Eisenhower has always suggested they have their own clinics around the valley,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of them specialize in HIV care. People are looking specifically for that, and that is a long wait. I heard they're not taking any new patients in their HIV care facility. There is the Desert AIDS Project, though, which is not a hospital, but that's located in Palm Springs, and that although it's called Desert AIDS, they do general health care for the community, for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be HIV positive. You don't have to be gay, even. They'll take you. They become an entity of their own. They have their own doctors, but it's a small clinic, relatively. There's no hospitalization there. So I think that medical care is good if you can get it.
Yeah, if you can get it, that's the secret.
You just have to be patient, especially if you're new. They will put you on a waiting list more than
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Do you wish you had something in Cathedral City that you really don't have that you might have had elsewhere? Is there anything lacking in that you'd like?
Well, with my background, having lived in London, I wish we had more theater. I mean, I wish we had an abundant supply of theater to choose from, but I do go into Palm Springs and see a lot of shows.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be one thing. I would like to see another competing theater company.
Mm-hmm.
What's the other thing? That maybe some more concerts. They have a small amphitheater in downtown Cathedral City, and
Mm-hmm.
they do a lot of concerts, especially Hispanic-oriented concerts. For the community. We're the sister city to Jalisco, Mexico.
Uh-huh.
So they do a Taste of Jalisco festival at the city center. And
You are a sister city of Jalisco?
Yeah. Not Jalisco. I'm sorry, Tequila.
Oh, okay.
It's in Jalisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why are you a sister city, just out of curiosity?
We're about the same size. Well, the huge Hispanic population. Many people come from there.
Okay.
That Taste of Jalisco festival is very, very popular. I wish we had more of those kind of, concerts for mainstream, people like me that like Broadway musicals.
So the big name concert people, are they out in Palm Desert?
They appear at the McCallum. They have
McCallum.
quite a
Okay.
few. You get Bernadette Peters and
Yeah.
that caliber, and also at the Palm Springs Art Museum has a theater, the Annenberg Theater, and they do some shows there too, or concerts or singing engagements. So I wish it's kind of lacking. I wish we had a little bit more variety in
Hmm.
restaurants. We
Hmm.
have great Mexican, as I told you,
Right.
but when it comes to we could use a few more.
International.
Yeah, Asian restaurants, especially people.
Hmm.
Lots of guys come down from San Francisco, and they
Yeah.
first thing they say is, "God, there's no good Asian restaurant in San
Restaurants.
Francisco, which
Right.
has the largest Chinese population outside of China.
Right.
We had great restaurants in every corner." Well, stop comparing
It's
because
not San Francisco.
it's not New York, it's not San
Right.
Francisco.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of Chinese, and they're all right. They're
Hmm.
nothing special. That's the only thing I think that's lacking.
Okay. And how about any cons? Any cons besides, okay, heavy traffic we talked
That would be
about?
my number one con. Would be the crowds in the winter.
Okay.
We're a little further away from the
The
madness.
hubbub.
Yeah, in downtown Palm Springs, so you can kind of avoid it. But I don't like to have to make a reservation everywhere I go in the winter.
Hmm.
You can't get in a lot of places. There's one restaurant now that has a 3-month wait. That's not unusual for
Wow.
New York, but it is for here.
Yeah. Sounds like a doctor wait.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And what else? Oh, cons. Boy, it's really hard. I love it so much here.
There you go. So maybe
The
there's
heat?
not
I'd
the
say
heat.
the heat and the crowds in the winter. If you
Okay.
can deal with that, which also creates traffic through Cathedral City, you just have to be patient. You have to leave early
Yeah.
and deal with it. And I
Yeah.
know Phoenix is that way most of the year.
Yes.
You've got a lot of freeways and people going
Yeah.
everywhere.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, Keith, in wrapping up, what would you say to our audience if they're thinking about relocating and moving to Cathedral City?
Well, I think I would welcome them. I think most of us would. We like to have more, especially gay people living here. Right now, I would say the average age is 60, 55 to 60.
That's my speed.
Yeah, it would be nice to have a few more younger gays who move here. Unfortunately, if you're planning to work, that might be a con. You have to really want to be in either healthcare, which is extremely short right now,
Yeah.
or you have to be in hospitality.
Hospitality, tourism.
So you're going to end up being a waiter or working in a hotel for
Right.
the most part. There aren't that many other jobs unless you
Yeah.
want to do landscaping and
You don't want to do that in the
you
heat.
don't want to do that. So yeah, I think that this would be a great place for just about anybody to live. If you're very sensitive to weather extremes, then maybe you might, if you do move here, I'd suggest having a second home and maybe up in Idlewild or even a cabin. Big Bear is a nice place too.
Or definitely come visit in the summer when it's really hot before you make a move and check it out.
A lot of people rent temporary housing in the summer, which is very easy to get because nobody does.
Right.
And you've got a lot of people that are just testing the waters.
Mm-hmm.
And some stay, some don't, but I think most people do stay. They come down here, they fall in love with it. And you really can't beat the beauty of where we live. The mountains all around us.
Gorgeous.
It is absolutely beautiful here.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Well, Keith, thank you so much for doing the podcast with me.
You're very welcome.
I've learned a lot, and you've taught us a lot, and it's just been a pleasure being with you. And
I really appreciated your insight on things and your encouragement with what you do. I try to be honest about living here, and hope I haven't turned too many people off.
No, we got to tell it like it is, the good and the bad.
And the ugly.
Yes. All right, sir. Well, thank you so much. And we'll speak soon.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Where Do Gays Retire podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast and consider making a donation by clicking the coffee cup on any page at www.wheredogaysretire.com. Each cup of coffee that you buy costs $5 and goes towards helping us continue the podcast. Thank you for your continued support.